so much for joining me today for another book review. We are going to just get right on into it, okay? This book is called The Hole We're In by Gabrielle Zevin. Hopefully, I pronounced that right. I do not have the physical copy of the book, so what I will do is attach a picture of what that cover looks like at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get into this, okay? So this book is about a family and the potholes of life they seem to find themselves in. And the family is uprooted, so the father, Roger, could continue his education, putting a financial strain on the family. Now, Roger has a teaching job, but decided to go back to school to get his doctoral degree. While in the pursuit of higher education, Roger finds himself in an entanglement with his professor, Carolyn Murray. Now, Roger was reeled in with the prospect of them working together to create a book which was to expand on his dissertation about public slash secular schools versus religious, mostly private schools. And you will have to read the book to see if Roger's hopes came to fruition or if he had to once again change course. So then there is a mother and wife, Georgia. Now, Georgia doesn't have a college education and has been primarily a stay at home mom, supporting her husband and three children. Now, Georgia has maintained employment and working on overdrive to keep the family afloat since they have moved and Roger pursuing his next layer of higher education. And Georgia is responsible for running the household as well as making the financial decisions. Georgia finds herself digging a financial hole. Georgia also becomes a bit mentally checked out. And you will have to read the book to see how Georgia handles her potholes in life. Now, there is daughter Patsy, who grew up and enlisted in the army. Now, this was against Roger's wishes. Patsy got married, but was gone so much, her relationship was pretty much like not all that it was cracked up to be once she returned home. And Patsy was released from the army, and there was an investigation pending to determine if she would receive her discharge benefits or not. Well, Patsy's exit from the army was less than stellar, which caused her to have quite the predicament. And Patsy goes to her father, Roger, to ask for help. And, well, let's just say religion and parental expectations play a role in that outcome. And yeah, you'll have to read the book to find out how Patsy's marriage and army investigation panned out. Now, Patsy had a daughter, and that's a little juicy tidbit about how that came to be. Well, the daughter is named Britt, who is high school age during this part of the story. And Britt has a bright future ahead of her. And then she hits a life hole. And the story will take you on a short journey to find out how Patsy and Britt handle this particular situation. And then there is Vincent slash Vinny, who is going to college and majoring in the arts. Now, Vinny has gotten to the point where he is going to make a mini movie. Okay. Vinny has the cast, the location, the concept ready to go. However, Vinny needs some extra funds to get this project to the finish line. Well, Vinny attempts to get a loan, and to his surprise, he is denied. Vinny goes through the motions to find out what happened and discovers that his identity has been stolen. And yeah, you already know. You're going to have to read the book to find out who has gotten Vinny into this predicament and what he does about it. And lastly, there is Lacey, who obtained a college education. She got married, has children, and a career. It seems Lacey is the only one that will follow the path their parents wanted. Lacey is living her life with her family and has little involvement with the rest of the family. Lacey is a little bit blind as to what's going on with her parents and siblings, and she is faced with a conversation she would rather not have. So, this story seems to be about realistic and relatable potholes of life and digging yourself out of them or not. This family had some holes to dig out of for sure. The holes in this story were sometimes self made or a product of someone else's actions. There are some twists and turns to the story that you may or may not see coming. Of course, I didn't tell you everything. There are some juicy tidbits I left out. Why? Because I want to whet your literary palate just enough for you to think about reading the book for yourself. Okay? Now, this story ends with what could be a cliffhanger for a sequel. It pretty much just stopped at what seemed to be a potentially heated conversation. And I didn't necessarily like that. It gave me the feeling that the author was just like, I'm done with this. You can make up the rest of it on your own. Now, if the sequel picks up with the continuation of this conversation, then okay, well played. Gotcha. However, I'm not anxious to see what happens next. Um, this was kind of enough for me. However, if the author makes the next one more juicy, um, then maybe I'd read it. But I guess I'd have to read it to find out if it was more juicy or not, huh? Hmm. Decisions. So, there are some warnings to give. There is religious perspective slash practices and commentary, a mental health experience. There is commentary on a war experience and aftermath. There is an abortion described, and there is adultery. So I don't know if there are any discussion questions in the physical copy of the book, but some topics of discussion could be views on public slash secular versus private slash religious school experience, pros and cons. Discussion on Roger's response to Patsy's dilemma. How would you have responded as a parent? And in the two scenarios given in this book, would one be more acceptable than the other? Why or why not? The topic of identity theft and fraudulent financial activity, related to the example given in this story, how would you handle that situation? The topic of paternal expectations or demands about how the children live their lives as adults. The topic of relationship expectations and roles, kind of related to the story. What would you have done if you were in Georgia or Roger's position? Does going to church really mean the person believes, or could they just be going through the motions because a person wants to project a certain picture to the community, and or because it's expected or required? you could probably do a deeper dive. These are in just a few conversation topics to get you going. I did listen to the audiobook version, which was 9 hours long. It's under the category of drama, which I would agree with. There was definitely drama and some real life situations. The narrator was Laura Wilson. I think the book was relayed on a pretty even keeled note. I would have enjoyed it more if there were better voice inflections in certain parts of the book, especially in the heightened and dramatic parts of the story. I think the narrator could have pumped it up a little bit. There could have been more emotion conveyed in certain parts of the story as well. And there were some heavy hitter topics and points in the book that could have been amplified vocally. The story was overall good. However, the author could have done a better job with the timeline lapses in the story. And in parts, I felt like the story kind of dropped on having a smoother transition or having a more developed entrance and exit into the next thing. So, I mean, I gave the book an 8 out of 10. I think there was room for improvement on the author's end and on the narrator's end. I don't know if I would have enjoyed the book more if I just had read the physical copy versus listening to the audiobook. I'm not real sure on that. I think there were some parts that I felt like I was missing something. Like you, it could have been more developed in the storyline. Like you could have just pulled a little bit more to give us a little bit more so it could be a little better on the cohesive side. But, you know, pick it up, read it for yourself. Haven't read the book, um, crack it open and see what you can get from it. After reading it, let me know what you think. If you have already read the book, comment your thoughts. Tell me what you thought about this book. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I would be so happy if you would go ahead and click that like and share button. Give me your comments. And if you have not subscribed yet, like why haven't you subscribed yet? If you keep coming back to view the videos, you might as well go ahead and subscribe so you can get the alert that there's a new one out there. So that's it for this round. And as always, until next time, keep turning the pages, my book lover.